Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it. Hey, how you doing?
What's up? What's up?
Welcome to the podcast, Leah.
What was it?
I said, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good, and you?
Doing fine. Can't complain. Tell everybody you born and raised it.
So I was born in Jefferson City, Missouri, raised in Texas. I'm 25. I currently reside in California. Yeah. You want me to go into the details about what I do for a living or anything?
You can if you want.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you how you got into YouTube. What made you start doing YouTube?
Oh, okay. So what made me start doing YouTube, because I would see a lot of dumb stuff on social media, more so Facebook, Instagram. And I would make videos to express how I felt about these things. And it got to a point where a lot of people were engaged in it. They wanted to see me speak about it more. So a lot of people kept suggesting that I create a YouTube channel or even do a podcast. So, and about 2019, that led to that. So I ended up creating my YouTube channel. And now I just kind of get on the internet and cuss people out.
So what is your strategy? Are you a social media influencer, Leah? Or?
Well, I'm a little bit of everything, and it's so weird because I don't feel like there's one word to describe me, because I kind of do everything. Like, I like to take pictures. I'm also an RDA. I own 2 businesses. I do YouTube videos, more so just to touch on topics dealing with things in the world, in my opinion, on certain perspectives, and to also bring awareness to situations. So I don't really know what to call myself, honestly. I feel like I'm just kind of concocted, a whole bunch of stuff concocted. I guess in one way or another, a person can refer to me as an influencer or a public figure, or I really don't know. It's just whatever whatever people want to define it as.
Right. And I seen some of your videos. What made you make a video about? I think it was misogynistic and generation of black women and black men. And you said the Bible contradicts itself. You said it's misogynistic. Can you explain that for everybody?
Okay, so for those who may not be aware, what misogyny is basically disgust or hate towards women. And I found out the reason I say that the Bible is misogynistic is because, in fact, it is. If you actually take the time to read it for yourself, you will understand that, which is what I had to do on my own. I had to actually read the Bible outside of myself. I've come across plenty of scriptures that go in depth in regards to saying pretty much, not even pretty much, but says that it is okay if a man was to betroth, aka rape a woman, as long as he pays the father 50 shekels of silver, and he has to marry her. So in that sense, the woman does not have a voice. She has no choice to, not even continue to like live a life of being traumatized with her rapist. It's like, it's not optional. There's other verses in there that speaks about a woman's menstrual cycle being a curse, when in fact that's not true. It's a cleansing process, a cleansing phase. It's something that naturally happens. There's also verses that speak about when a woman is on her cycle, that in that sense she's considered unclean and should be sleeping on the floor, is not allowed in the temple, and crazy stuff like this. Aside from that, there are so many verses in regards to how a woman is or should be when it comes to being a wife, but they don't really touch on in regards to like the specific role of men, outside of telling men to love your wife as Christ loves the church. But they have this whole list of rules for women. So the Bible is in fact very misogynistic. It also promotes pedophilia as well, but that's a whole nother discussion.
My bad. I was looking down. I was trying to charge my other phone
Oh
up.
no, you're good.
So
I thought that was another question tied to that I didn't get to. Oh yeah, you asked me what inspired me to make the video. What was it? Do you remember what the title was?
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to that right there. Who helped you read the Bible though? Because people say that all the time. I'm a Christian. I follow Christ. When people say the Bible contradicts itself as a white man's book, I just want to have one question: who is helping y'all read this though? Are you reading this by yourself, or because a lot of that stuff is Old Testament stuff? It's just different layers. You got to divide it in. So I'm trying to figure out where you getting this information from. Like, who told you this?
From reading it myself, because when you follow the influence of other people, aka pastors and everything, they go on to telling you what to think. They cherry pick scriptures and preach a whole sermon on it and create a whole
Wait a minute.
out of it.
Wait a minute. Who is cherry picking though?
No,
I
I'm
feel
saying
like you listen. I feel like you're listening to the wrong people.
no. I'm not listening to anyone. I'm going based off of my experiences. Because
Those.
I've been told by per se religious people, because I don't even want to just say Christians, because Christians aren't the only one that denote things like this, but I've been told by plenty of religious people that, you know, certain people like myself per se have a tendency to cherry pick scriptures and not read the book in context, but that's what they do in church all the time. They cherry pick a scripture, study that scripture, preach on that specific scripture, especially when it comes to tithes and offerings. They always want to read this one verse about what a man robbed God, when that verse, if you read it in context, it has nothing to do with tithes and offerings. Tithes and offerings actually has to do with sowing 10% of your crops, oil, seeds, things of that nature. And if it's too far of a distance for you to carry those things to bless those that are less fortunate, then you would take your money and then buy whatever it is that your heart desires and give to those who are less fortunate. It has nothing to do with money, but yet money is such a big deal.
You finished it, or you got some more? I'm about to go to bed. You got some more you want to add to it? I'm listening right now. Okay. Uh, mm-hmm. I just feel like that's just all wrong right there. I just feel like whoever told you that was blindsided. They was blinded. They was, I don't know what they was
I
reading.
didn't know, one told me that. I read that in the Bible myself.
I know the Bible does say that, but a lot of that stuff you have to be rightly divided though. So how are you rightly divided? Because some of that stuff, it does say some of that stuff in there, but it was Old Testament. People, that's what people don't understand. You got Old Covenant and you got New Covenant. A lot of the stuff is Old Covenant Testament on
There's
what
also in
women.
the Bible that allegedly black men are cursed with elongated penises for whatever they did. So that lineage is allegedly, that's why I guess black men.
Are you reading the Holy Bible itself, or are you reading the
Yeah, the King
Quran?
James version, because even the new versions that they plagiarize and reinvent today is being plagiarized or reinvented based off of the King James version. So a lot of people think that it does not matter who wrote the Bible, but it does, because the same person that actually is the author of the King James Version Bible, he's also the author of demonology. He was also a homosexual and a pedophile. So that does matter. And people often feel as though that you should, I guess, seek counsel from a pastor or something. How come we can't, or it's not seen as a credible source to actually study on our own? Why do we need someone else to tell us how to think? That's a lot of what's wrong with the world today. People are too caught up in the news and listening to what the media and everything is telling them to do, as opposed to going with their own intuition and discernment. Because I guess it's so bad if you follow the brain that allegedly, I guess, God gave you. We have a brain, but we don't use it. Common sense is not very common anymore.
Wait a minute. All that stuff sounds good on paper, but it's a bunch of bullshit. Because if the right pastor was giving it to you or whatever, and I could give you some pastor, they were telling you wrong. That stuff.
I know they
A lot.
wouldn't, and I don't care. That's the point. That's what they would do.
I understand it. So basically, what you're saying is all pastors are liars, or whatever you're saying.
First of all, I'm not going
That's
to
what
say
I'm getting
all
right now.
pastors are liars, because everyone has the capacity to lie. Whether you're a pastor or an atheist, you could just be a regular person that's not connected to any religion. Everyone has the capacity to lie. Now, I do feel and know for a fact that there are a lot of pastors that intentionally are aware of a lot of things, because they have to study etymology, so they're aware of what it is that they're teaching, and that there's a lot of BS connected to it, but they still willingly go out and lie. But there are also pastors who actually truthfully are preaching and doing all of these things, and they've become pastors because they truly have an intent to help people, and they really wholeheartedly believe in what it is that they're teaching. So that's to just say that there's going to be some liars and some truth tellers in any situation, even when it comes to being a minister or a pastor, whatever anyone's trying to aspire to be in life.
I don't understand. I still don't understand it though. I just feel like I just feel like that's what a lot of people doing now. They just Bible talks about it though. I don't understand where you getting where's you getting this theology from? Like it sounds like you just went in the cave or whatever. You start reading for yourself. But that's why you need the pastors, teachers, and prophets
No.
that help minister the thing to you. Because if people do like you doing, they'll just go off on the edge and just say whatever like you saying, and
But
they
why
just start.
shouldn't you read the Bible for yourself?
You should read it for yourself, but you need the pastors to
You
help
don't
you.
need anyone but yourself.
I understand it. No, no, no. You do need people. You need people to help you rightly divide it and break it down, don't you
But how
think?
they gonna know something? How? Because that's the thing. Because people think like, oh, going to school is what education and stuff is based off of, and that you need to go outside of yourself or seek some type of guidance from someone else. That's not necessarily the case. And it took for me to actually read the Bible for myself, to read it in context and have a better understanding, because
Right.
pastors weren't reading me the Bible in context. They would cherry pick a scripture and then create a whole story or sermon based on that one scripture, and then get up there and perform a service or entertain the congregation and play music and stuff, and then collect tithes at the end of it. Even though it sounds good, it makes you feel good, it gives you some motivation, but at the end of the day, you still have no true understanding of that Bible. You only have the understanding of a man, which is why each pastor have their own interpretation, even though they may have similar interpretations of scriptures and stuff. But if you go to one pastor on this day of the week and he reads this particular scripture, and you go to another church and you hear another pastor preach on that same sermon, you're going to see that they have different ideas and concepts of how they convey that message, because they have a different understanding. So essentially, people should be on their own journey, on their own spiritual journey, or whatever the case may be, instead of trying to go and seek guidance from someone else, because no one can live your life for you. No one can tell you how to interpret things, which the Bible even says within itself that it's parables, but yet people are still taking it literal, which is where I feel a lot of the disconnect comes from. And nonetheless, even though the Bible has a lot of truths in it and a lot of gems, it also has a lot of BS and a lot of lies, because it's been tampered with, it's been manipulated on purpose in order to confuse people,
Oh, wait, wait, wait,
masses.
wait, 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 wait. I'll let you go on. Let you go on. The Bible ain't lying. It got no lies. It contradicts itself.
That's a lie.
No, I'll let you talk. Let you talk. Let you talk. The Bible doesn't do that. The pastors, if you could see, you had a YouTube video about generalizing black people. You're contradicting yourself, because you're generalizing all pastors, saying they lie to
No,
you.
I'm not. That's what you tried to say that I said. I never said all pastors anything. I
You
even went
said,
on to answering your
I'm
question by
listening to what
saying
you
I'm
said.
not
You
saying all
said
pastors lie.
pastors on a certain day of the week, they want to come to you about the congregation, but it's like you're putting them in the same box as black people put other black people in the box, in the
Now, I
same way.
clearly stated already prior to entering into this portion of the conversation that I know for a fact that there are a lot of pastors who intentionally do this, and they know that they're full of crap, but there's a lot of pastors who do this because they wholeheartedly believe that they're doing the right thing, and that what they are teaching and preaching is the absolute truth, whether anyone else agrees with that or not. So that's just the duality of the situation. I never put all pastors in a boat, but I do know that if you are a pastor, this is not a generalization what I'm about to say here, but if you're a pastor, you are tax-free. But people don't ask themselves questions like, oh, why is that such a big deal? Why do they get that type of privilege and others don't? So I'm not saying all pastors lie. I'm not saying all pastors tell the truth. And you can't necessarily say that, oh, the pastors that I've learned from, I've listened to a lot of pastors preach, and I never said that I came to this conclusion by listening to pastors. I had to separate myself in order to gain a better understanding, because my family, I come from a religious background, a Christian background per se, and I was always taught to follow this certain way of life. And I've also been shunned out when I decided to finally separate myself, because I opened my eyes and I seen things for what they was. Whether people agree with that or not, you're entitled to your own opinion and your own belief. But nonetheless, that's the problem, because it's like a lot of I can't even think of the word, but like a lot of judgment, a lot of people being like, oh, I don't want to be treated this way, but yet you're going to go and do other people this way. A lot of people don't want to be judged, but yet you're going to go and judge other people. So people are missing the message of the Bible. They've gotten so caught up in the trying to prove if it's real or if these are facts that they don't even understand the message. Everyone got so caught up in praising and worshiping Jesus that they forgot to look at the message that he was conveying through his life of how to actually walk, being an actual guide in some sense or another.
That sounds good on paper, what you're saying, but what you're saying is basically you making a generalization, what you're doing, off what you have listened to by the people, and you're putting them in a box. That's what you're doing.
How? Okay, so how did I put people in the
You're
box?
doing that inadvertently, though. You just made a whole long speech or whatever you was talking, and I was letting you vent or whatever on your rant. But you're still basically doing the same thing of what you just said other people doing with black people. You kind
Okay,
of put
so
them in the
can you
box.
please point that out to me? What exactly did I say that generalized people? Because I never said all people nothing. I'm not that naive to think that all people do anything. I'm not retarded like that. There may have been a point in my life where I may have referred to and said like, oh, you know, all men this or all women, but I understand better now that there's no such thing as all people do anything. Everyone has the capacity to do anything and everything. So where did I generalize pastors? At what point did I say all pastors do this?
Because you were saying just now, you was long winded. I will let you go. I will let you go. Well, you were saying that the pastor that you have listened to, you kept saying what you listened to, but I'm saying how have you listened to everybody though of the statement? Because it's kind of like a general statement based off your experiences and opinions. Though that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by that. That's what I mean.
Okay, so the pastor that I've listened to, what? Because I could have swore that what I was expressing was based off of what I learned separated outside of religion, not me listening to a pastor. I did not come to this point in my life of feeling like, oh, you know, this is BS because of whatever a pastor said. I literally had to separate myself. I started to seek truth for myself. And that's the thing, because there's a saying, be careful what you wish for, what you ask for, because you just might get it. And I remember I actually called out, not only calling from my heart, but verbally, just saying, I don't care about being perfect. I don't care about being right. I just want to know the truth, whatever that may be. And then it slowly started to come to me. Now, whether I choose to see it for what it is or continue to seek past it, that's on me.
Okay, next subject. We ain't getting around that. But okay. If you
Yeah,
say
because
so.
it's not right or wrong. It just is what it is. And that's the thing, because this is why I don't really like to, because it's like when we talk about religion, I understand that's a very sensitive topic for some. Everyone is not on the same level or in the same path in their walk, on the same journey. So it's a very sensitive topic, because I remember I used to be one of those religious people that would sit here and try to argue someone tooth and nail, no matter, even if they was providing something that scientifically proved something that didn't matter to me, because I was held tight and held strong in my own belief and how I was raised and brought up. But the question we didn't ask ourselves is where do we really get that information from? And people make it seem like that if you seek information and you get it from yourself or from your own means, that it's not credible, but yet you will read a book and say, oh, what's the source? Or it can't be credible unless it has a source. But yet it was another person, human being, that wrote that down. It would be the same as if you decided that I'm going to write a book today. I could write a Bible if I wanted to today. One of the newest Bibles is the Mormon Bible. And yet there's people that are still converted and tied up in that belief themselves. Even though that Bible may be new, it still has is plagiarized off of even the King James Version Bible or whatever the case may be. But even though that's a newer religion, people still wholeheartedly subscribe to that. And that's what they feel is the truth, no matter what you say to them. The same with a Jehovah's Witness. There's 4,200 different religions, 30,000 sects in Christianity alone. So I'm trying to really understand how is it that people can bring themselves to the conclusion of trying to tell someone that the religion that they have is right, and this is the true and one and only God, and that if you do not believe in my religion, you're going to die and go to hell or be deemed to some type of doomsday or whatever the case may be, when you do not know that. But people have, I guess, a high pride where we can't even bring ourselves to a point of just saying the truth is. And all in all, none of us know shit. None of us have seen none of these things that people are talking about in the Bible. We have not seen what they describe God or Jesus to look like. I'm not talking about individual spiritual experiences. Obviously, people have their own spiritual experiences, but I'm talking about in regards, yeah, a person may say that they may have had a dream or whatever, but I'm speaking about the things that were allegedly prophesied and conveyed in the Bible, the messages or like descriptions of certain beings like God, for example, or even Jesus. All we have is the descriptions of some other man that wrote that down. We cannot say, oh yeah, that's true. I mean, technically you could, because people do that all the time so that they can feel more related to it, I guess. But that's why people still confused about what Jesus' race is. So if anybody's seen him, why are we still confused about what color this man allegedly is? Whether he's black, why is that even an argument?
Okay. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna move on because it ain't getting nowhere. You said just now that people willing to risk their freedom and doomsday going to hell or whatever. So say if what if he's saying is correct though, and 1% of what he's saying is correct, are you willing to risk your life, the rest of your life in hell, if you believe that's not true?
I never said risk anything.
I'm just asking you a question though. You said
I
if you don't
said
follow
there's
him.
4,200 different.
Let me finish. You
Okay.
said, are you willing to? You said just now. You saying if you don't believe in him, you can go to doomsday as hell. That's what you said. But I'm saying, are you willing to risk eternity for that? If that
I
one
said that's
percent
what
is right,
others say, not
I'm
me.
asking you though. Are you willing to risk that though? 1%.
Am I willing to? So basically, okay, so this is my thing, because there's a lot of things that tie into it. There's something called the Christian Black Codes of, I believe it's 1772. It's a 56-page article where it has all of these rules for Black people. They were forced. It was like a requirement. Like, you have to go to church on Sundays. You have to celebrate Christmas. You have to be Christian, or else you're going to be murdered, slaughtered, hung, whatever the case may be, or punished in some sort of way. So I'm not understanding how things like this can exist and we're like still not questioning things. And I'm not saying to just run off with something and say, oh yeah, just because I seen one piece of contradicting information that may even completely tear down that belief system, that I need to just go over there. But do your own research. Stop just, because the only reason we believe in this shit is because we were taught it when we were kids. That's the only reason. Like, for example, a Christian person, you may not be able to convert them over to Islam because that's not their culture. That's not their background. They were not raised in that belief. But if they were, that would be their belief. And chances are, if you as a Christian are trying to convert an Islamic person or a Muslim person, whatever the case may be, you're not going to be very successful because they have their own culture, their own background. Same with people who may be into like Hindu or whatever the case may be. So my whole thing that I said is that there's 4,200 different religions. The way on one end of the spectrum, someone can say, are you really willing to risk your life not believing in this thing or accepting this ideology that someone wrote down in the book and told you was fact? And because it's in a book, I guess it must be fact. It's also in a book, Christopher Columbus Discovered America, but okay. However, it's like you could also reverse that and use the concept of what I previously stated, the fact that they're the facts, not even an idea or belief, but the fact that there's 4,200 different religions, 30,000 sections or sects in Christianity alone. And even obviously Christians can't even agree on which version of this story is accurate or the truth. Why are there 4,200 different religions? And with those 4,200 different religions, why is it that people are really going around trying to condemn people or tell them that this is the one? Maybe that works for you and that's fine. That's cool, because some people need religion in order to help them live whatever life that they aspire to be or be more righteous in a sense. But nonetheless, you cannot really tell people that they're going to die and go to hell if they don't believe in your God, when other people have different religions that say the same exact thing. But nobody wants to talk about how all of these religions are plagiarized off of each other and they have so many similarities. They have some differences, like difference of characters and names and things like that, or how they may even view.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one. Then you said you was in one of your videos. I can't remember the video. I don't know if I wrote it down. You said you don't mind taking pictures, sexualizing pictures, being married. I find that interesting. Why do you take those pictures?
What?
I forgot what video you said. You said on your YouTube video where you were saying on Clubhouse, somebody asked you, "Are you comfortable with taking pictures like that, being married, or talking to other guys like that?" And why do you do that?
No, I know what incident you're talking about. It wasn't about pictures. It's because someone said something out the way to me, a man per se, and I got on his ass. And he didn't like my energy. He felt like I was very aggressive. So he said, oh, there's no way you could be in a relationship talking like that, because I guess people have this conception or belief that women are supposed to be this one certain way, the same that they believe men are supposed to be, like, I guess, this toxic masculine. So when they do meet men who are more embodying of a feminine energy, they make fun of him and say, oh, you a bitch ass nigga, or you a gay ass nigga, because they don't understand energy and that everybody was not created to be the same or embody one specific energy. So that was that situation. Now, I know I also have stated before that me being a woman, even in a relationship, as far as like how I dress, that might be what you're referring to, that I don't necessarily see an issue with that, because I'm not going to be with someone who will not allow me to be myself. And that's the whole point that I was making in that sense, which that might have been a whole nother video. It might have been the same one, but that's my opinion. That's how I choose to live my life. The same way that I want to be with someone who's comfortable being themselves. I don't want to be judged for being who I am. Now, that's not to say that, oh, a person should just not have any respect or boundaries, because if you feel like you want to have a certain dynamic where you like to have orgies, as long as the person you with is in agreement with it, that's cool. But people are going outside of their own business and lives, looking at other people, like this one post that was trending, I guess, with Gucci Mane and his girlfriend, where she had on like this see-through mesh dress. Me personally, I wouldn't personally wear that, but that's not my business. But at the same time, if her man is fine with that, and he's not complaining about it, I'm trying to understand, why does everybody else care? Because people are doing too much judging and looking at the other people and saying like, oh, your man must not love you if he allows you to do that. First of all, we're not fucking kids. We're adults. How the fuck is somebody going to allow you to do anything? That's what I'm trying to understand. And why aren't you dealing with people who are on the same frequency as you? So that way you're not butting heads. Because that's the thing. People, they get so caught up in this illusion of beauty and, oh my God, I just want to have sex and you look so good, and then you don't take the time to get to know this person, then you find out that I really don't fucking like this person. Me and this person has a communication barrier. We don't even get along. We're not even interested in the same things after. Chances is you probably didn't have a baby or already then sexually got involved with this person.
Do you believe married people should delete that Instagram?
Do I I believe that marriage people should do whatever the fuck they want to do. If a couple gets together and they feel like the best thing for our marriage is to delete our social media, then that's exactly what the hell they should do. If they get married and they feel like they want to keep their social medias or that's what's in their best interest, then that's what they should do.
So do you believe it's appropriate for you to take those pictures and being married how you are right now? Do you believe that's like respectful?
I feel that people should deal with people that have like energies, like how the Bible speaks of being equally yoked. That's another gem in there that's actually a truth, because that's the problem. People aren't dealing with people that are equally yoked. For example, a man may want a woman who dressed the complete opposite of me, and that's fine. He's entitled to that. But don't go and venture out and seek a woman that has my characteristics or personality and then later complain and cry about it, because you already knew you didn't like that before you got with her. So don't try to get with her and then ask her to change all of these things about her, because that very energy that she's embodying now is the same thing that attracted you to her. So if you know you want a woman who wears turtlenecks or likes to wear long dresses, then you need to go and try to venture out and find that type of woman. And at some point in the relationship, it will be understandable if you start to feel some type of way, if you start noticing that she's switching up, because you're like, look, I did not know you was this type of person. If I would have known, then I would have been more careful. But that's usually is not always the case how that happens. But I feel that people should be allowed to be whoever they are, because there's people, a lot of men and women who both are strippers and they're in relationships and they're happy, but we're on the outside looking in and judging them like, oh, they shouldn't be doing that, or why they doing that. Like, the truth is a lot of people are projecting, and a lot of times people don't have the bravery or the confidence to be themselves. So all they feel that they can do is sit down and talk about and criticize the next person that's embodying the energy where they don't care about the thoughts of other people or where they do what they want to do. So I don't feel like there's any rules or stipulations other than whatever the two people in that union come up with or create for their relationship. Now, if you ask me personally,
I'm asking you personally. I was asking you personally.
Okay, me personally, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. The same way I'm going to allow my partner the freedom to express himself how he chooses. Now, if I don't like what he's doing, we can have a conversation. Or if he doesn't like what I'm doing, we can always have a conversation, because that's not just to say that nothing can be compromised or talked about. Like, I could understand if, like, okay, now I'm going to the next extreme of getting on the internet butt ass naked or twerking on the internet, and I know that that's not acceptable within my relationship, then that would obviously be me being purely disrespectful. But as far as how I choose to express myself through my clothing and attire, me and my partner, we already have an understanding in that area. He does not have a problem with it. So if anybody else has a problem with it, it really don't even matter. That's my point. It doesn't matter. It only matters what you and your partner have set into place.
Okay. So basically, okay. It's basically based on the relationship y'all have, okay, is what y'all saying. Is what you're saying, right?
Wait, you said basically what?
So basically you're saying it's based off the relationship you have with your partner,
Yeah.
huh?
Depending upon the people.
That's the long-winded answer right there. Are you part of the feminist movement? Because I feel like you're part of the feminist movement.
Oh, wow. That was a biased judgment.
I feel like you're part of the modern day feminist movement.
I don't know what modern day feminism is, but I do know the agenda behind feminism. So I'm not a part of no feminist movement in order to answer your question.
Okay. So you're not a part of it. Okay. Oh, the reason I asked that because I think I seen one of your videos. You was I don't know what video that was. I think it was the narcissist videos. You were saying people have so many opinions, but they judge them. But just because somebody have an opinion about something that's maybe beneficial, why do people feel like that's judging?
Wait, you said you said that I said that people. Okay, so are you talking about what I stated, like, since we've been on here in the video?
I believe I seen the video. You was talking about narcissist. No, you was talking about manipulative and insecure, and you were saying,
okay, it might have been that video titled, "Is he or she insecure, or
yeah,
are you just
right
manipulative and controlling?"
Yeah, that right there. And you were saying about judging or whatever, but when somebody's stating an honest opinion about something, how is that judging? I'm trying to figure out.
You would have to quote me verbatim, because honestly, I'm not really computing that to be able to answer, because that does not make sense in terms of like how it's being explained. And I know you might be like summing it up or paraphrasing, but I don't really know how to respond to that, because I'm not sure what exactly part of the video that I'm responding to in regards to what I said.
Well,
But you,
basically, I was trying to figure out what was the basis of the video. I really didn't understand. I was like, what the hell is this shit right here? I didn't understand it. But can you give everybody a summary of it, or help me get
okay,
a
so the purpose of that video was to make the point that sometimes people, instead of taking into account what someone is saying, they'll just automatically deem them to be insecure about everything. And then not always, like, it's not always an insecurity. Sometimes it's being done in an attempt, in a narcissistic sense, in order to make this person really believe that they're insecure about everything and not have or establish any type of boundaries for themselves. So like I even gave the example in that video of, there's a woman in the relationship with the man where he may be like, I want to have a threesome or whatever, and she's like, no, I don't want to have a threesome. He may try to throw in there like, oh, that's because you're insecure, you're not secure with yourself, that's why you don't want to do it. But it's like, it's not always that a person is insecure. Sometimes people just don't want to do shit that they don't want to do, and that's the point that I was making. So if you actually listen to that video and watch it, that's all I was talking about. Like, people are not always insecure. It's like, you don't have to always think that just because a person don't want to do something you don't want to do, or is not comfortable going outside of themselves, or what they may feel may go against their character or even their religious belief, whatever the case is, it does not mean that they're insecure. Maybe they just have an awareness of self and they know how they may respond in a situation. Like, I've even had an ex actually tell me, when he asked me a stupid question like that, and I asked him, well, I'm cool with doing that as long as you're cool with having a threesome with me and you and another friend. And then he was like, no. And then I can respect the fact that he was honest as to why. But he said, because I know that me personally, if I see another man touching you, I'm going to want to beat his ass. Like, that shit is not going to go how you expect. So I do respect his honesty in that sense, but that's my whole thing. It's like, so would it have been fair for me to say like, oh no, you're just insecure, when first of all, he's already telling me why. And then even if there's some men that say, oh, I don't want to do it because I feel like that might be gay. Like, that might be really what they believe, but it wouldn't be fair to just be like, oh no, you don't want to do it because you're insecure about yourself as a man or a woman. Like, maybe that's not what you want to do because you know yourself, and you know that you might end up going to jail if you engage in certain situations, which people should be taking the time to be real with themselves and know themselves so that they can avoid issues in their life that they don't want to be involved in. Like, if you know that you're a damn hothead, then maybe you would have a better understanding that it would be best for you to avoid certain people and situations because you know how you're going to respond to things.
Have you engaged in those activities? Threesomes or
And what
whatever?
activities?
The threesomes or whatever? Have you
Yeah, when
participated
I
in
was a single person, I did. Me personally, I didn't understand why, because I don't know. To me, it was weird because it was a friend that I had that was actually married, and that's what she wanted to do for her birthday. And I remember talking to her, and I was like, I mean, like, I don't know. Me personally, I wouldn't want to do that. And I know people have like these little rules and stipulations or whatever the case may be, but I know I personally wouldn't do that. Maybe with just a random guy that I didn't take serious, but as far as someone that I'm actually, married to or really serious about, I wouldn't personally do that. But I have done that before when I was younger.
And this was with two guys or two girls?
Well, one was with two girls and the other was with a guy and a girl. It was a married couple.
So they were swingers.
I don't know what the hell they were.
Okay. What was it like doing those activities? What was it like for everybody watching?
Uh, I don't really know like how to explain it. It was, the one with the two girls wasn't too weird. That was like, we were just fucking teenagers just experimenting and drunk. But the one with the guy and the girl, for me, that was a bit weird. Like, the whole setting of it was a bit weird because in my mind I'm thinking like, I already felt like in that moment, like, if this man tries to show me like a lot of attention, then that might not be the best thing. But then it turned out kind of weird because then I kind of felt like they were like trying to dominate me in some sense. So I just decided I wasn't going to do that no more. And that's just kind of how that went. That was for her birthday, I guess. But whatever. I wouldn't have done it, but to each his own.
I believe in one of these videos you said niggas ain't shit. But do you hold both female? Do you hold both parties accountable, the males and the females?
Wait, you said, I said what?
You said niggas ain't shit, I believe, in one of your videos.
Okay, so I don't remember saying that in that context just straight out like, oh, niggas ain't shit because people ain't shit. And I'm pretty sure I might have said niggas ain't shit just like bitches ain't shit because I use duality in all things. I don't believe that just niggas ain't shit. I believe the same capacity that a man has to not be shit, a woman has the same capacity. The same way women are out here looking for men to take care of them, there are men out here looking for women to take care of them. The same way men are gold diggers, women are also gold diggers. It goes both ways. And that's been my issue of what I've been trying to explain and convey through my messages, that people are generalizing people based off of gender or race when it's not about that. The same way a woman could be deemed as an angry black woman for getting so angry. I've seen white women do some of the same shit that black women would do, and even worse sometimes. Just like I've seen Hispanic women react in the same ways that black women react in. Just like black people aren't the only ones killing each other. People of all races at some point end up committing crimes against their own parties. So I don't think I just came out and just without reason or context just said, oh, niggas ain't shit, because that's very naive. And I know my brain does not work that way. I'm pretty sure there was a context within that, and that's probably what stood out.
Okay, okay. We're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with that right there. And you say you're married?
Well, not legally married, no, but I am in a serious relationship. I'm not sure if we are going to ever decide to go through the state, because that's a whole nother conversation and a contract and a scam. But
Do you respect your relationship though? Because like how you move on social media or whatever?
how I move on social media, how do I move on social media?
Um, I just feel like, with the third strike, I just feel like women are supposed to be if you're in a
Because
relationship.
business is business. And that's what I meant when I said me and my man have an understanding. I have two businesses. We also understand that this world that people live in, there are certain things that may get the attention of people more than other methods. So that's the understanding. So I'm not out here trying to cheat or cheating. I'm literally just using the knowledge that I have in order to implement and further promote my business on all
And,
aspects and levels.
and what business are you promoting?
I have a hair care business. I also have a permanent makeup business.
Okay, 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 okay.
And also a lot of that also has to do with me just expressing myself as well. But I also understand how Instagram work with algorithms and engagement, because there was a point in time when people would just like comment on all my stuff and I would just sit there and ignore it. And I realized that that causes my engagement rate to go down, because it's like you're not interacting with people. It can cause issues. So sometimes, not even sometimes, but really when it comes to this social media shit, I just play the game how the game goes, because that's all it is a game. None of it's real.
Okay, okay, okay. Do with the pictures that you post, whatever, do a lot of guys slide in your DMs or whatever the case may be?
Wait, what was that? What was that?
With the content that you post, do a lot of people slide in your DMs?
Well, from time to time, yeah. Some people, it's like, just talk to themselves. But that's another story. But nonetheless, I do get both men and women that slide in my DMs. Yes, people in general.
Yeah, how do you respond to these messages? Though?
Well, if a person just gives an innocent compliment, I will say thank you. But if things start to go outside of the parameters of what is acceptable within my relationship, then I will politely tell people, like, hey, this is the case, so it ain't about to be none of that. And if they continue to disrespect those boundaries, and at that point, you get cut off. That's it. Simple as that.
Do you believe you should have male friends in your relationship? Do you have male friends in your relationship? Do you believe in that?
I don't know if I should say friends, more like acquaintances. I have connections because, once again, I did say that I have two businesses. So the people that I am connected to in real life are business connections, both male and female. But yes, so me and my partner have already had this conversation. We both have come to an understanding that we're on the same page. So when it comes to certain connections, especially meaningful connections, but of course we're not going to just do things that we personally may feel is disrespectful and inappropriate to our relationship. So we do have boundaries in that sense of what's acceptable and what's not.
Right, right. So you're not trying to like seek validation on social media?
I'm not trying to see. Okay, so here's the thing, because I don't feel like it's even necessary to lie, because I feel like a lot of people are on social media doing the same thing. But like you initially stated, you said a thirst trap. That's one of the things. And then also the aspect of generating attention. That's the other thing. That's the part that I understand that's essential to me building my platform, my following, to also further generate followers to my business and also generate people to just be engaged in the first place. Because I know, because from experience, I see people, they may have a Instagram account and all they have is like a bunch of these like little screenshot articles or something. Like, that's boring. That's not engaging. So I know, like, first impressions matter. So when people go to your page, however they initially first perceive you is going to be what they go based off of. Or how they perceive your page, should I say, because once again, that's not even the real us. And that's the funny part, because people look at people's social media and think that they know them in real life, or know that think that they know their whole lives, when people forget, like, this is like your avatar. Like, this is like a version of yourself, whatever version of yourself that you choose you want to portray. So if you choose you want to portray like a crazy psychotic version of yourself, you can do that on social media. If you want to portray yourself to be perfect in something, you can also do that.
Interesting. Earlier you were talking about, over like the man shouldn't be able to. Do you believe you can listen to the authority of the man, or you believe you could, coexist with a man? Or you feel like you could be under his leadership?
Well, I don't understand. See, look, when people start talking like that, that's when I get lost, because that's the part that doesn't make sense. Because what the fuck are we talking about? Like, it's like I hear people, because I had someone tell me the other day on my live, like, oh, women are supposed to be obedient to men, and men are supposed to be like, first of all, we're all individual people having our own experience. You need to deal with someone that you can understand. I feel like respect is essential in a relationship in general. So a lot of people are asking for things that they're not getting in turn. So people are going around like, oh, I feel like you should listen to me, but yet you're not willing to listen to your partner, but you're mad they don't listen to you. So that makes no sense. So when it even comes to leading in a partnership, there's no such thing as a man just going to be able to 100% be right all the time, just like there's no such thing that a woman is going to always be able to be 100% right all the time. So the thing is, how come we're not using the abilities that we have to come together and make better decisions? Like, as a woman, women tend to kind of go more so off of like their feelings, and men, they say, are more logical. So how come we can't bring our logic and intuition together to come to a solution or to better analyze the situation? Because there's no such thing as a person knowing what to do all the time. There's going to be times when the woman has the most sound reason in a situation, and there's going to be times when the man has the most sound reason in a situation or relationship. But essentially, if you in a union, you're supposed to be one. So how the hell is we at this point where it's like, now I'm over you, you under me? Like, no, I don't operate like that. Me and my spouse, we don't operate in that sense. That's pretty non-existent. And if you ask me, in my opinion, that's very toxic.
That's another thing. A lot of people use the word toxic. That's a very broad statement. What's your definition?
Yeah, it is.
What's your definition?
It's toxic. It's not healthy. Toxic means not healthy. And that's not healthy, because a lot of people really think that they're supposed to be controlling people. A lot of people have children, and they forget that their children are individual people that they're supposed to be guiding and raising, and they're sitting out here beating on their kids and shit, which I can't honestly tell nobody like, oh, how you should discipline your child or not, but we don't typically want to have the conversation about where that shit really came from. Like, where it stemmed from and why you do it and why you think it's okay. And people will say things like, oh, to a person that may not use physical means to discipline their child, say, oh, that's why your child bad like that now. I've seen some badass kids that ain't got their ass beat with extension cords, got knocked upside their head with broomsticks, and they still bad. They don't care. So that's not the reason why. Like, people are not wanting to, I guess, really do the work in a sense, because that's what it kind of feels like. Because parenting is more than just whooping your child's ass when they wrong. Like, people are just going to physical means of discipline as opposed to actually trying to talk or understand or figure out what's wrong with their child. Even when it comes to a lot of teenage girls, they're typically people tend to call them like fast. They're like, oh, you being fast, but nobody's questioning, like, did something happen to you? Or like, what's going on? Like, what is that? Like, you don't want to know why a person may be acting out that way? They'll look at a young girl and say, oh, no, you being fast, I'm going to beat your ass, or whatever the case may be. Or you're not doing that in my house. But you're not thinking something might have happened to this girl. Maybe without my awareness or my sense of knowing.
I think this is my last one. Why do you believe so many modern women are scared of relationships and marriage?
You said, why do I believe so many modern women are scared of relationships?
And marriage.
In marriage, well, That ain't what I've been saying. So I have not been saying that. It seems like
No,
everybody.
I'm just asking the question. I'm asking the question. I'm not saying you saying it. I'm just asking why you do you think a lot of women are, why you feel like a lot of people nowadays are scared of relationships or marriage? I'm asking.
Well, and that's what I was responding to. Like, I personally, from my perspective and where I'm standing in my life, like, it kind of seems to be the opposite, but that could also be because we exist in different realms or whatever, or parts of the world. But from what I see, it seems like, I mean, on one end of the spectrum, yeah, people are like out here wilding out and they don't really want to be tied down. But then it's like on the other end, it's like, seems like people are eager to get married and they don't care about the foundation of it. They just want to do it for social media or for a title or just to say that they did it. So I
So
guess it kind of is both ways. But if you asking why I may personally feel like some people may be afraid of marriage, I think it may have to do with some trauma that they may have experienced that have made them afraid to do that again, or maybe they're just afraid of commitment. Maybe it sounds good when you talk about it, but when you actually start to take the steps to do it, then it becomes frightening. Like, holy shit, like I'm actually about to legally, I guess, engage or sign a contract and I'm gonna be like connected or tied to this person. And some people just probably just feel like that they're too young to be tied down. So they just want to keep living their life, and they know, they have an awareness that if I'm in a relationship, chances are there's going to have to be some things that I'm going to have to stop doing. I'm not going to be able to just move as freely as I want to and do whatever I want to do. So for that, they choose to just not be in a relationship so that so that their freedom isn't threatened or taken from them.
I just feel like only in the black community when people say like you gotta live these people too young to live your life or whatever. But only other communities don't say that, but black folks say that. You gotta live your life. You're too young right now.
Yeah, that's probably stupid to me, but I never
Or
understood that.
or whatever. But I just feel like a lot of I don't know is it shock? I don't know if it's shock value or whatever. But I don't understand why though. We're just the last on the totem pole of marriage though. Well, we actually lead in divorces though. Black people right there statistically.
Mhm.
I think I read 1 out of 3 black women were married in their lifetime.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad because we have a lot of children um that are living in divided households. So that part in that sense is really sad to me. And I don't entirely understand it, but I guess it is what it is. But I've
You have
also
children?
heard, what was it?
You have children?
Yeah, I have 3 daughters.
And they're by the same man?
No, it's not. Well, no, they're not. My 2 oldest daughters have one dad, and then my youngest is with my man.
Okay. Okay. Right. So what's stopping you now from being married if you with this man now?
Well, as I previously stated in the beginning of this contract, even though we are in a relationship that we take serious, we have not, meaning we both have not, came to terms of deciding if we actually want to go through the state and legalize it. Because, in a sense, after we've learned what we've learned about this contract, is that's just another scam within itself. Even if you read in the Bible, it don't talk about going to a courthouse and getting married. It literally said this man went inside this woman and they became married. So, in the discussion, that's the process of becoming one, in other words. But the whole state, people they don't do their research on it, so they think that when they're going through the state to get married, that what's happening is that they're engaging in like this holy matrimony ordained by God, when the state marriage has nothing to do with God. They don't even care about God. In that situation, it's the dynamic seems to be more like a polygamous based dynamic, where it's like the husband and the wife will be considered the two wives and the state is the husband. So if one person may be in like a shitload of debt and you get married to them, and let's say something unfortunate happens and they pass away, you're gonna have to take on their debt. So like whatever issues you guys have, you're gonna have to pay more, you have to do all of this. And then people like the whole government just all up in your business at that point. It's not necessarily necessary. And I can understand why some people may even choose to get married, because some people have a sense of like, oh, I love this person, and like if something does happen to me, I want to make sure that they're taken care of. But there's even ways to ensure and establish that outside of a legal contract with the government. So it's a hard decision, because me personally, I don't really entirely agree with it. Now, as far as the ceremony, I don't mind doing the ceremony and things like that, but in my opinion, it might be in both of our best interests to actually create our own document, because you can even do that without having the state trying to come in and do all this extra shit.
I think we used to do it the traditional way, though. Go to the courthouse and paperwork. I think that means something. Shows the commitment. That's what I think a lot of people right now in a relationship, they scared of commitment or whatever. They figure
But, yeah, but the commitment is not necessarily attached to the paperwork, because even dealing with like situations like child support, it's more so for people who are incompetent to handle their own affairs, which is why they even have the system of child support. So if a father appears to be incompetent to take care of his children on his own without being told, now they have this system where they're going to enforce it and make you, and they may even have things like, oh, if you don't do it, you're going to go to jail, or now we're just going to automatically take money out your account since you don't know how to do it yourself. And not to say that every man that's on child support is in that's the situation for him, because it's not always the case, because there's a lot of women who do things because they're mad and not because the dad's not taking care of their child. But whatever the case is, that's all I'm saying. When it comes to this this government stuff, like, it's contracts.
child support more geared towards the women anyways, because we live in a society where, you know, it's just how it is or whatever. But and you say you had 2 kids. Why are you not with your previous baby father having 2 kids with him? Why
Because
is
it
that?
didn't work out. I was very young. I was 15 when I first got pregnant. I thought at that time, because we were both dating, he was 16, I was 15, and he came to me with this crazy idea that I should get pregnant. Of course, at that time, in my mind, I thought that was a great idea. And I grew up in a dysfunctional household, so I was lacking in a lot of areas. So in my mind, I felt that having a child at that point in time of my life would make up for the lack of love that I was receiving at home. Because I perceived it as, okay, I will have this baby. I know that this child's going to always love me. Now, of course, it wasn't, I don't think, well, I know for a fact it wasn't my intentions to not necessarily be with him or even be married at that time, because I didn't know then what I know now. But at the same time, I can't really speak for him from what I could perceive at that moment. I think we might have not been on the same page, but there was a lot of things that transpired that I'm not going to go into detail about because it's not necessary. It's a lot stuff that happened between us, but we were both young. We were kids, literally kids, babies having babies, in other words.
How old you was again now?
I was 15.
I said, how old you was now?
Oh, right now I'm 25.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you stopping by on the podcast.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We got any shout outs anything?
Do I have what? Can you say
Any shout outs?
any shout outs? Just for my business, Goddess Care Skincare and Beauty. You can find us on Instagram at Goddess Care SKB. I have a YouTube channel, Soul Energy, energy spelled INNE capital G. And also my other business, Goddess.vibes, permanent makeup artist business, servicing the 559 area for anyone who may be in the 559, which, yeah, it's not too many of those people on here, but yeah, that's about it though.
All right, you have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
All right.